Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of Toledata's Feature Focus. My name is Sive, and I'll be your host and Toledata expert for today's episode, in which we'll be exploring how to create your activity plan. And for project managers, I think this is going to be a very interesting one for you, so that you'll learn how to, do your project management work on the platform, be able to assign tasks and roles to different people of your team. So please stay tuned, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. Now, as custom, we're going to leave a few moments for everyone to join, as I know some people might be having some technical difficulties. So I'd say let's benefit from this, and I'd like to ask you to maybe open up a new tab, sign into your Toledata account, because as I'll be doing a demo of how to set up an activity plan, it might be quite useful for you to have your Toledata open in parallel so that you can join in and let some questions kind of organically flow. And to give you an idea of today's agenda, we're going to be starting off as per usual with our little presentation on the feature focus, as well as the feature itself and where it sits within the Toledata application. And once that's done, we're going to head over to the demo portion, and I'll be showing you around the activity section and how to set up your own activity. And then finally, we're going to be having a Q&A session. And for those of you that are watching live, we're going to be doing that on Mentimeter. So if you'd like, if you want to be ahead of the group, you can actually, log into menti.com. So www.menti.com. You can enter in the code. And as questions come to you over the course of this episode, you can write them in and have them ready to go so that, they'll be the first ones I answer at the end of this episode. So feel free to head on to www.menti.com. And if you're watching this on playback, that is also no problem. If you have questions, feel free to get in touch with us at our support email. So that is just support@toledata.com. And we'd be happy to take your questions. So now I think I've left ample time for people to join. So I'm going to now just dive into our presentation. So now, just to run through what our feature focus is, I'd say a few of you probably already know our feature focus series if you're on episode 4 at this point. But just to kind of recap, our feature focus series is set out to make you a Toledata expert one video at a time. And we want to do this for free so that you are empowered to start learning Toledata by yourself and to be independent, to use the platform and to get the most out of it. And these are informal sessions where you can get to know a little bit about us and also to ask questions as they pop up. But if you're interested in maybe being in the loop, because our next feature focus is going to be on building the result framework. So if you're interested in knowing about when new episodes are coming out, feel free to head over to toledata.com/feature focus. And there you'll be invited to enter in your name and your email. And this will mean that, when we have new episodes coming out, you'll be in the know. We'll send you an email to let you know that it's happening. So with that, let's head on to the feature that we're going to be covering today. So today we're going to be predominantly looking at the activity section. And this is going to be the kind of project management side of Toledata. And this section helps you answer the how of your project. So how are you going to achieve the goals and the targets that you've set for this, project? And the feature will allow you, to put together nice actionable plans, very simple and straightforward. You can track how your, colleagues are looking after these activities, the development of them. And you can also, share this with stakeholders and donors who want to be up to date and in the know of how you're going to or how these projects are going to unfold. So it's a very useful and very valuable tool. And it additionally will help you to bring all of your activity related documents and information together, which again is very useful to not have to go to many different applications to start doing your project management, but just to have it all in one place. Now, I know this might be a little bit small. I hope you can see a little bit here, but this slide is just to show you where this activity section is located on the application. As you can see, I hope, there's a green box here that is over many different kind of tabs or modules. And these are actually the sections that we're going to be covering today. So we're covering quite a lot. And you'll find the activity section on the platform, as you'll see very soon, just wedged in between the detail section and the indicator section. So once we've completed this episode, you'll be able to tick off all of those different modules because we'll be covering them all in one go. And then finally, why did we create this feature? Well, there is many reasons. The list here is not exhaustive, but these were kind of the main reasons that we put together this activity section, and which I find most pertinent in any case. So the first one is being able to create an actionable plan. The feature itself is very intuitive, it's very easy to use, and it's going to really allow you to just be able to get all of your plans and thoughts that you might have in your head, or have all of your ideas that you've done on paper, and to be able to bring it together in one place to allow you to have those step-by-step actions towards your overall goals and targets. And this feeds into the second point that we have here. This feature is going to allow you to track the progress of your activities, because once you've set them up, you can then, assign different assignments, different activities to your colleagues or to your employees, who will be able to go onto the platform and update it for you. And what this means is that you don't need to, contact individuals and, learn individually from them how, the activity is going. You can simply log onto the platform, see how it's going, and, go on with your day. So this allows you to, learn about everything very quickly, and also to save time, which we all need more of. The third point we have here is centralizing information. And again, as I mentioned, this platform allows you just to bring all of the activity-related information into one place, avoiding it being scattered everywhere. So this means you can link in with your documents, you can have the reference of your site, of your stakeholders, and this is going to make it really useful for you to harmonize as a team, to be all on the same page, not having to search for or for asking for certain bits of information. It'll all be readily accessible for you from the get-go. The fourth feature or advantage here that we have is providing flexibility. We designed this activity section to be, very versatile and to, be helpful for your needs. And, to do that, what we tried to make sure was that you didn't have to do certain components in order to access a certain feature. The activity section can be used very flexibly, and you don't need to use it strictly for, setting up events or for creating activities. This could be a place that you, even just organize your documents under thematic sections, or you could do it just to follow up on your approval workflows. It's really up to you. There's no mandatory sections. It's really to let your imagination run wild and to do whatever you want with it. And finally, we have ensuring transparency, which is, of course, always important when it comes to M&E and project management. So, of course, with the fact that you've already set up these projects, you have now kind of a list and a history of all of the activities you're doing and the updates that you're getting from your colleagues. So this is going to be a very useful tool to be able to show to, your stakeholders and donors how you're achieving your goals and achieving your targets. And you have, the possibility of being able to download all of these activities via a CSV file. And this can be shared online, of course. And we additionally have some features such as in the approval workflow, you have a nice timestamp of when these approvals were submitted. So this again will help you to be very transparent in your project work. So now we can move on to our demo portion. And in our demo today, I'm going to first start off with orientating you around the platform so you can understand where the activity section is located and all the features that you can benefit from on the platform. Then following that, I'm going to be setting up an example activity. And this activity is going to be essentially how I would go about setting up a stakeholder event. So without further ado, I'm going to move us now over to the Toledata platform, which you should see here. Please comment in the comment section if you'd like, if you need me to zoom up in that. But in any case, I'm going to head over now to the Toledata account, and I'll let you know where you can access the activity section. So when you log onto your Toledata account, you'll be met initially with this project page. And this is sort of the home page of Toledata, where you can see all the projects that you're linked to. A very key part of your navigation here on Toledata is, of course, the navigation panel here on the left-hand side. Now, to access the activity section, you might see already that down here we have a section called Activity. So I'll ask you now just to simply select this section, and you'll be redirected to the project management area here. So as you can see, we have a nice, simple, straightforward view here. We've set up the format to be this sort of cascading list style, which immediately helps you understand how different assignments and tasks are linked and how they contribute to kind of the overarching activity at hand. So as you can see here, for example, we have our main phase, the build up, and we can see that we have tasks here, assembling the team, signing contracts, which add and contribute towards the overall goal of this main activity. Now, additionally, we have a lot more information on these activities with, these nice symbols letting us know that this is a milestone. We can see the progress of these activities, who has been assigned, important start and end dates, maybe some budget info. We also have some visual cues like this traffic light system, and you can also include measurables. And what I mean by that is you can include indicators, and this will help measure kind of the development and the progress of this overall activity. And these can be linked from the indicators that you create within your indicator section. So this is going to be such a helpful tool for project managers who are going to quickly pop in here, check the latest information, and then move on to the next task of the day. Now, you might be wondering, if within your organization, if you're using different lexicons, maybe you don't call this an activity, maybe you call it a task, maybe you call them subtasks, maybe you have assignments or whichever, you can actually customize these on your Toledata account. So these can be, personalized so that when you have a team and you want them to quickly, start working on Toledata, you can actually have these aligned to the vocabulary you actually use. So keep that in mind. And now just to show you a bit on the activities and the features you can see inside, I'm just going to select the name of an activity. And keep in mind that what you see inside this activity will be the case for all of the different components here. So it doesn't matter the activity you select, you'll see these features for all. Now, when I select the name, you'll see that I have a few different tabs or modules up here at my disposal. So these are a list of different features and places for me to include references. The current tab or module that I'm on right now is the Details tab. And this allows me to put in the most essential bits of info for this activity. And this is also a lot of the information that we see on the list view. So, of course, this is where you can modify the name, assign an individual responsible for the activity, mark down the progress, update the status, etc. include if it's a milestone, you name it. So you can put all this information in here and have it then reflected for the project manager who will be viewing it later. The next tab that we have here is the approval workflow tab. And this will allow you and your team to put together a nice approval workflow so that if you have a system within your organization where certain things need to be run by specific individuals, this is where you can keep track and have it all in one place. So in this example here, I have a budget approval that needs to go through my colleague Aoife. You can see here when I've submitted it and that I'm still awaiting a decision. But once Aoife is ready and can come back and approve it, I can now then move on to the next step. And my colleagues can also recognize that stage has been done. Again, this helps with transparency and everyone knowing that certain procedures had taken place. The next tab we have here is our budget tab. This allows us to keep track of the budgets that we've allocated for specific activities. The budgets that we have within these activities will give you an overall idea of how much you've spent and how much you've remaining, but they will also aggregate so that on the details tab, as you may have seen in previous videos, it will give you that overarching budget, giving you the overall amount allocated to the project, how much you've spent, and how much you have remaining. The next tab we have here is the Documents tab. And this will allow you to, link all of the important project-related, activity-related documents in one place. And this can be done either via URL or via your Google Drive. If you have, documents in a physical location, you can also note these down here too. So feel free to, be able to write the pathway to some documents you might have stored in, your office, or to be able to link them to a Google Drive doc. The next tab we have here is where you're going to be linking your measurables, so your indicators. And for this activity already, you'll see below that there's 2 indicators that have been linked. More can be linked via this blue link if you want. And what you'll see when you link these indicators is some information on the status of these indicators and additionally on their actual versus targets. These can also be unlinked if you want, but simply by clicking these unlink symbols here at the bottom. The following tab, Sites, is where you're just going to be linking the locations that are involved with this activity. You have an option to either create a new site or to use a previously used site if it's being used in multiple activities, which is very handy. And these can also be modified down below. You can see a nice Google map here of where the location is. And you can also, of course, unlink them as you've done before by clicking this unlink symbol. And finally, you have the stakeholder tab here, which again allows you to link important stakeholders involved with this activity. And you have the option to create a new one or to link a formerly created one. These can be modified and or removed if you want. So the choice is entirely up to you. So this was just a quick overview of all of these different tabs. I'll just highlight now that you can also see sort of a temporal timeline of all of these activities. If we head now up towards this chart view, you can see when of all of these different activities start, when they end, how they're all linked to each other. And with this orange highlight, you can see, well, where are my milestones? And these are highlighted here. This can be filtered by day, week, or month for more detailed viewing if it's quite detailed. So this is going to be very useful for you just to have an overall view of how the project's going to unfold. And then the next tab we have here will give you also an overview of all of the different approvals that have been submitted. So again, everyone can go to one place to check, where are the approvals in the approval process within your organization. So that was the initial sort of orientation and overview of the activity section and all the features that you can avail of. So now to help you out, I will create an example of an activity that I would set up. So to do that, I have the option to create it either by clicking this green button up here, add new activity, or as I kind of prefer to do, I can just simply enter it in this kind of transparent blue little box here. So let's say I'm creating a stakeholder event. I'll simply enter in the name here. I'm going to hit the enter button. And that will create the new event. Now you've noticed that I've included a number in there just to ensure that this immediately appears down here at the bottom because the system will order it by number. But if you'd like as well, you can also just drag and drop them. You don't even need to include the number. You can easily just, switch them around, have this on top, have this a part of this activity. But just for easiness sake, I like to put in a number so that they're all ordered correctly. Now we're going to go on to the next stage where we're going to be adding information to the activity. So as you saw before, all we need to do is select the activity at hand. And here we'll be brought into the activity itself. Now you might be wondering, well, where are all those tabs that I saw a few minutes ago? Well, some users can find it a bit disorientating when they initially set up an activity, when they might have seen that, we have a lot of different tabs, but they're actually hiding in plain sight here. All you need to do is select this green button, and you'll see that you can add any number of these tabs. So again, this is part of our flexibility in this tool, is that we want you just to be able to select the tools that you need or the features that you need. You don't need to have all of them included if you don't want to. So for this instance, we're going to need all of these different tools. So I'm just going to click and select and add them. So we have them open and ready to go. And of course, these, if in future you want to remove any of them, you can just remove them with this delete button. So let's start off with our first tab here, the details tab. So this is where you're going to, be assigning your users. So for our staff responsible, let's say we're going to make Anya responsible for the overall activity. And we can pretend for a moment that we're her here. We might say that this activity is currently in progress. She's still setting up certain things for this activity, finding the location, for example. She can assign a status here. We have this traffic lights system. We don't have a specific meaning attached to any of these, so feel free to attribute your own for your own organization. So let's say yellow, as we're currently in process. And select a phase, for your activity, where does this sit in the overall timeline of your project? So I'll say identification and design. And then here at the bottom, you can include important start and end dates for your activity. So for example, for the stakeholder event, we want to use this event to raise funds for the current project we're doing in the education sector. So we'll try and do it at the beginning of the year. So let's say maybe the second week of February, and this is going to be a milestone. Now down below you have the description section, and this is a very useful section for you to be able to include information on this activity, to add in hyperlinks, to maybe even include images. I have a quick example here. I'll just copy and paste so you can see what that looks like. Voila. So I can include like a link to the event agenda for anyone who needs it on the team. And now I'll quickly select submit. And we'll see that it's here. Now, once that's been done, we can now head on to the approval section. So for this stakeholder event, of course, this is going to involve, putting together a budget so that we can track, the cost of the location, cost of catering, cost of maybe any audio equipment we need if there's going to be presentations happening. So here is where we're going to send the approval. So in this instance, a budget approval, for example. So to do this, I'm going to head over to Add Approval. I'm going to use this drop-down menu, to select a type. Now, on your account, you might see that there are no approvals available. And what this means is that none have been set on the admin console. So if you want to add them, feel free to do them yourself if you're the admin, or if not, you can just ask the admin to include them if you need them. And these can, of course, be personalized and specific to your organization. We have our own here, but I'm sure you have different ones as well. So I've selected my budget approval, and I want to assign this to, let's say, Aoife. And then down below, again, I can include, information here on the approval that I'm submitting. So I'll show you an example that I have here, so that when I click save, the system will send an email to Aoife informing her that she has an approval request. She can come back here, read some information on the approval that I've submitted, check out the document, and then the approval can move on to the next stage of the process. The third module that we have here is the budget, and this is going to be our quick and easy, simple budget for keeping track of our activity. So, for example, if we want to, let's say, rent out a conference room for this stakeholder event, we'll put down conference room as a description. Let's say the conference room, we've allocated 1,200 towards this conference room, but maybe in the negotiation of the rental, we got it down to 1,000. So we'll put in the amount allocated, the amount spent, and once we've done that and click submit, you'll see that the system will figure out that there's a disparity between the two, and it will let you know how much you have remaining for your budget. And as you add different items, so let's say now we're going to add in some catering, we'll enter in the amount that's been allocated, so let's say 350. Again, maybe we got a handy deal, 375. If we click submit, the system again will recognize the disparity, it'll include it in the remaining budget, and it will also aggregate this information so you can see the total remaining budget then there for you. Under this next module, we have the document section. And this will allow us to link again, as I said, all the important documents for the activity. So I'll do an example here of adding it via a URL. So let's say I want to link the agenda for the stakeholder event and put the name, and I'll include the URL. So once I've done that, I'll select save, so that now when any of my colleagues come in, they can quickly select the link and be redirected to the document. And if you're using any tools such as OneDrive or Google Drive, the permission level will still stand. So if you still want to protect these documents from certain employees, this will respect that level of permission or the authority. So keep that in mind. Now, the next tab here is the indicator tab, so our measurables. Now, to assign indicators, you will, as a user, have to make sure that the indicators have been created within the indicator section first. But once they have, you can go select this blue link, and I'll look now for the indicators that will allow me to measure the number of stakeholders that have attended, because we want the more the merrier, and also maybe the stakeholders who have pledged donations. And as we've seen before, we can kind of get an idea of the status and how much, of the actual versus target we've achieved so far. Now, under sites, here's where we can link the site that we need. So I think we've had this event location before, our fancy event location, but you can of course add a new site by selecting this button here and by adding the name and the location and the geographical coordinates. And under stakeholders, again, I haven't used this one before, So I'll quickly use the drop down to select it. And there we have it. I've been able to add it here. So this was a run through and a walkthrough of how to set up an activity / an event. And it was as easy as that. They don't take that long to put together. So now I think we can actually move on to our Q&A. I think we're already at time, but I'll allow maybe a moment or two just to allow people to ask their questions. So with that, I'm going to share the Mentimeter screen. And if you want to post your questions, just head over to menti.com and enter in the code 45732625. Okie dokie. So our first question here, how many projects, activities can I plan in my organization? Great question. On Tola Data, with even the lowest packages, you have an unlimited number of projects that you can create. And now projects can be, for many different purposes. So this is an overarching term for what we consider just to be well-organized units of data. But you can create as many projects as you like that are dedicated to measuring your indicators along with an activity plan. So feel free to create as many as you'd like. So it's an unlimited amount. Thank you very much for your question. I wonder if there's any others. Again, just head over to menti.com and enter in that code 45732625. So we have our second question here. Can I use a project purely to track my activities? Thank you for the question. Yes. So as I just mentioned, these projects are essentially just well-organized units of data. So you can, of course, feel free to use projects strictly just for their activity or project management features. You don't even need to use the indicators. Again, this is for flexibility for you. So, you can use them for whatever you want to use them for. So yeah, thanks again for the question. Great question. I'll leave, I'd say, maybe 10 to 15 more seconds, and then we might have to bring this to a close. Okay, perfect. Next question here. Thanks for the presentation. Thank you. Is the activity section an additional add-on to packages? No. So this feature comes along with all of the other features that we have in Tola Data. In fact, there is no paywall to any of the features that you've seen today or any of the other features on Tola Data in general once you have started a subscription. And again, even from the slowest package. So there's no limit to the features that you have access to. So that's perfect. Thank you very much for all of those questions. I hope you've enjoyed this session. Feel free to contact us via the support@toladata.com if you're watching on playback. But with that, I'll wish you a lovely day and hope to see you again soon in our following feature focuses. So see you now. Thank you and goodbye.